So let us talk about central limit theorem. Central limit theorem is basis of all the hypothesis tests, whatever you have been learning as part of hypothesis test. It is basis of hypothesis test. So when we are talking about, when we say that mu of the population, the uh, mean of the population. See, all our conclusions are for the population based on a sample. So we are making a judgment about a larger population based on a sample. So we need to gain that confidence. Sometimes you might feel, how can 30 samples, 50 samples, how can they talk, how can I predict about millions of population using 50 samples, 60 samples? Or in attribute data, 1000 samples, how can I predict about billions of people? So the secret of that is in central limit theorem. Central limit theorem, what is that? Central limit theorem states, and first let me explain to you, or let me take an example. What I would do is, let us imagine a city. Okay, this is a city. A lot of people there, around 1 million people are there in the city. And I want to know the average height of the people in that city. I'd collect, let us say, 100 samples from the city, and I collect the heights of the people, and the average of these 100 people is, I find that it is 173 centimeters. And I also find that the standard deviation of the sample is, let us say, 5. So easily I can predict about the full population distribution of the city. So what will be the population distribution? I've got an average of I've got average of 173, and then 5 centimeters, 5 centimeters, 5 centimeters here, 3 times, plus minus 3 sigma, minus 3 sigma, which will be how much? Can you predict? Yes, so it is, you're right, it is 188. Yes, so here it is 188, and here it is on the left side, it will be how much? 158. Yes, and here it will be 178, and this will be 183, and here it will be 168, and it will be 163 and 158. So I can predict that 99% of the people in the city, and I'm talking about one category, let's say males in the city, are between 158 to 188. I'm not saying that no one is below 158 or no one is above 188. Definitely, if I collect 100 samples, one of them would be either below or above that. Or if I can collect 1,000 samples, then around 5 of them will be below 158 and 5 of them will be above 188. That means 1%. 1% of 1,000 is 10. So 10 people will be beyond the control limits. Now this is about the full population. Now I'm interested in the mean. What was the question? The question was, what is the mean of the population? Average height of the whole population. Now, based on what I collected here, 173, can I say that yes, average height of the city population is 173? No, I can't say for sure, because someone else can collect another 100 samples, and find that it is 174. Okay, someone else can collect another 100 sample or sometimes 200 samples, but I'm just taking the same number, 172. So if I go on collecting 100 samples again and again, it will hover around 173. The average will hover around, it will appear as if the numbers are trying to approach some number which is not known to us, but which is very, very close to the population mean. Population mean exists. there are 1 million people. If I take average of all the people, I will get the number. But it is very difficult to get that number. So what I can do is, I can collect samples 2-3 times, and I keep doing it. And interesting thing, what you will observe is that as you place, say 173, okay, 173, and another is 174. So if I keep on collecting these points are representing the averages of the 100 samples. Averages of the 100 samples. If I keep doing this data collection again and again, again and again, again and again, keep on doing it, a very interesting phenomena would be observed, that the averages will appear, these averages will appear to be normally distributed, and that is what is known as central limit theorem. Means averages of any process, averages of any sample drawn from any population, even though the population is not normal, will always be normally distributed. Now this is a theorem, this exists in nature, so we just make use of it. Now, when you are talking about normal distribution, then it will also have its own average, and it will also have its own standard deviation, isn't it? So the standard deviation means here, and please remember, this graph is different from this graph, the green graph which I just made it here. This graph is for the whole population. This graph is only for the averages. Averages. Okay, this graph is for average. So average of this is 173, and standard deviation it will have. Now I would not like to confuse with standard deviation of here as 5. This is 5, right? This is standard deviation of the sample or in the population. Standard deviation of the average, I will give it another name. I will call it as standard error of mean. Standard error of mean, we call it as, because there is an error in the mean, isn't it? There's an error in the mean. This error in the mean I want to predict, and it's very easy to predict by using the formula S divided by square root of n, where n is the sample size and S is the standard deviation. That means if I increase the sample size like 100, right now it is 100, if I make it 1000, what will happen? The error in the mean will decrease. If the sample size is lower, like n is smaller, denominator is smaller, then what will happen? Error in the mean will increase. My uncertainty band will increase. Yeah. So suppose I collect only one sample. Suppose I collect only one sample. Can I make a judgment about the mean? No, very difficult. The uncertainty band is too high. But if I just collect two samples, I may be able to reduce the uncertainty band. Maybe do this. If I collect 3, 4, 5, 20, 30 samples, my uncertainty band might further reduce. If n is equal to infinity, suppose n is equal to infinity, n is equal to infinity, then in that case, what happens? Anything divided by infinity is zero. When it becomes zero, then in that case, there is no uncertainty. You will get the mean. Means if I go and collect all 1 million population, what will happen to uncertainty? There is no uncertainty. I will get the mean. But instead of collecting 1 million sample, I just collect 100 and also accept the uncertainty. I agree. Okay, I may not be, I'll not give you the number, but I'll give you the band, confidence interval. And that is what is the purpose here. So if I just collect sample one time, and based on that, I will give you this uncertainty band also. So let us calculate. This is 5. Standard deviation is 5 here, and what is the number? 100. Sample size is 100. So if I solve this, this becomes 0.5 centimeters. So I will get here the uncertainty band, or my SE mean, standard error of mean, is 0.5 centimeters. So I can if I can expand it. If you want, I can expand it here. I can write it here. Now I'm expanding this, right? So please remember, this graph, the graph in red is different from the graph in green. The graph in red will be fitting like this. This is the graph for the mean. Now I'm just expanding that red graph here, magnifying lens. Okay. So here 0.5, 173.5, because that standard error in the mean is 0.5. And this is 174, and this is 172, and this is 171. Yes, I think I'm right. No, 172.5 here, and this is 172. Yeah, so 172.5 and 172. Now someone asks me, okay, tell me the city population with a 95% confidence. Mean of the city population. Mean, I'm asking mean of the city population with 95% confidence. I will not tell him it is 173. I will tell him 173 plus 2 times standard deviation here, right side, and 2 times here. So that means I will make plus minus 2 times. What is plus minus 2 times here? Plus minus 2 times in 95%. So 95% band or 95% confidence interval of the mean of the population of the city is how much? Yes, it is how much? If I want to calculate, I can calculate using the formula. So it will be, I'll write it down here, 95% band confidence interval is equal to x bar plus minus 2 times standard deviation, which is nothing but standard error of mean, isn't it? Which is here 173 plus minus 2 times standard error of mean is 0.5. This is 0.5, which is nothing but 173 plus minus 2 into 1, 2 into 0.5 is 1. So which is 170. So I will say 172 to 174 is the average population of this city. This is the average population of this city. Okay, average population of the city. Now, did I collect 1 million people? No, I just collected 100 samples. But did I give you 100% mean? No, I'm not interested. See, I want to, let's say, make some look. The purpose is that I just want to know the average, right? Here, of course, height average might be a little different. So here, in this case, when you are talking about the heights, you are also talking about the uh, so when you're talking about the heights, I'm just interested in the average heights. Okay. But when you're talking about the procurement time, then in that case, what's happening? I'm talking about the average procurement time. Now, little bit of this uncertainty is fine. 172 to 174 is a good, fair estimation about 1 million people's average heights, and that is, I'm happy with that. So this, based on that, I'm making my judgments. So you will see later on we'll do ANOVA, later on we did 2T test, right? So let's say one city, city A and city B. If I talk about two cities, let us say, I think I collected 100 sample from city A. Heights of people in city A is 172.5 average, and height of city B 173.5. Now a person who is uh, you know mean minded or average minded person, he will say, yeah, I collected data, city B people are taller as compared to city A. That's what he will say. but the black belt will do a 2D test and the p-value will be high. And they will say, no, both the cities are same. Mu city A is equal to mu city B is a null hypothesis. Alternative hypothesis is mu city A appears to be less. Okay, why? Because I collected the data, I took the average. Average was 172.5 for city B. It was 173.5. I know that's what he will say, but black belt, black belt will say p value is high. Both are same. Both are same. There is no difference. Now the average person will say, how can you say the data is proving that height of city B is more, city A is high? Then he has to explain, well, there is something called central limit theorem, there is a standard error of mean, and then there is an uncertainty band, and both of them are coming within the uncertainty band. There is a possibility that they belong to same population, a population hypothetically where it is 173. Both are possible. They are two different samples from a same population. They are same. Don't make a judgment. Don't make the mistake of uh, uh, you know uh, making a statement that city B people are taller. Your statement might of course be wrong. P value also will be given to you. P value, let us say, is zero point 0.4. So black belt will even tell, well, you'll be 40% wrong when you say that city B is taller than A. Yeah, so that's what P value is. That's what our that's why we make those judgments based on. And in the ANOVA, you will remember, you'll know. Okay, when I come to ANOVA, let's say there are city A, city B. You will always get one graph which is known as confidence interval of mean. It will look like something like this. So when the confidence, see, means of sample will be given, but after getting the means of, we are not making judgment based on means of sample, we are making judgment based on confidence intervals of mean. If they are not overlapping, p value will be 0, but if they are overlapping, p value will be 0.8. If they are perfectly overlapping, exactly, p value will be 1. You'll be 100% wrong if you say A and B are different. And if this is the case, well, you'll be 0% wrong if you say A and B are same. So this is the basis of hypothesis test. So let us understand what is sample size and how to get the sample size formula. Just now we saw the central limit theorem. So let us derive our sample size formula from central limit theorem. So this was what we saw just now. We saw that confidence interval of any mean can be easily obtained by using this band. Now, what is the band? See, this 2 times standard deviation. What is this 2 times standard deviation? This 2 times standard deviation, if I see carefully, is the uncertainty. This one, this is the uncertainty. I can mention it as delta, or I can say D. D as the uncertainty. So when I say 173 plus minus 1, what is that 1? This one is uncertainty. Uncertainty in the mean of the population. So I have got a sample and I'm a little bit uncertain about the mean of the population. So this, I can call it as uncertainty, or I can call it as estimation error, or I can call it with by different names. So let us look at that. If I just replace this with D, this formula can become, this formula will be D is 2 times standard error of mean, which is 2 times s divided by square root of n, which is square root of n d. Square root of n is equal to 2s divided by d. And if I just put here, okay, maybe I'll just square it to make it n is 2s divided by d. 2s divided by d, if I just uh, use this as a sample size formula to calculate what should be my sample size. What should be my sample size to estimate the mean of any population? So let us say in a call center, I want to understand in a call center what is the average call handling time in a call center. So how will I find out? I will need the standard deviation. I will need the D. D means the uncertainty the process owner can tolerate in the mean of the call handling time. So if a manager, call center manager comes to me and asks, how many samples should I collect if I want to know the average call handling time of my call center? So I will ask him two questions. Please tell me your standard deviation and please tell me your D. Now he would not understand if I just tell him that, please give me your D, please give me the standard deviation. He will not understand. So what I will do, I'll say, well, can you give me 30 samples from your call center? And he gives me 30 samples from the call center. And I find that on an average, his calls are taking around, say, 5 minutes. 5 minutes, if I measure in seconds, so it will be 5 into 60, 300 seconds. This is the average. Okay. And if I say that uh, if the standard deviation might be, I find that 5 minutes or like half a minute, I can keep it a standard deviation. So standard deviation is here, that is 30 seconds. So his calls are between 5 plus minus 2.5 minutes here and then 2.5 minutes, like 1.5 minutes on the right side and 1.5 minutes on the right and left side. So the standard deviation is I estimate as 30. Then I ask him the how much error you can tolerate in your estimation of a call handling time. So he says he would say, well, I don't understand what you're talking about. So I'll explain to him. See, I will give you a sample size. I will tell you to collect 100 samples. Now, when I tell you to collect 100 samples, you collect 100 samples. After that, you will get an average. And suppose you get an average call handling time of these 100 samples as 300 seconds. Please be aware of the fact that this 300 seconds is for these 100 samples, not the 100,000 calls which you are making. So you are interested in this 100,000 calls. So with 100 sample, I can give you an error band. Like I can say your average mean call handling time of these 100,000 calls is between 300 plus minus 10 seconds. Means average of this 100 calls is 300, but average of that 100,000 calls is 300 seconds plus minus 10. Are you okay with this 10 seconds of uncertainty? So uh, he will say yes, uh, I'm fine. So that will become the D. So 10 seconds is I can tolerate. And what is the standard deviation here? 30. So if I just solve this equation, I will say that my sample size is 36. So I will tell the call center manager, please collect 36 samples. Just collect 36 samples and you'll get your call handling time of 100,000 calls with 10 plus minus 10 seconds uncertainty. So let us say he's followed my advice. He collected 36 samples and he found the call handling time is 330 seconds. So what will he report? My average call handling time of these 100,000 calls is 310 plus minus 10 seconds. And he will say that 95%, I'm sure, 95% I'm sure that it is between 330 plus minus 10. And he is fine, then he can compare. Now, today I'm at 310 plus minus 10. I would like to reduce it to, let's say, 250 plus minus 10. Yeah. So still the 36 sample before and after will give him enough information to say with confidence that yes, there is a difference between before and after. So this is how I'll do for the continuous data. So this sample size formula is for the continuous data. Now this is for continuous data. For attribute data, formula will be little different. So here we got the formula like this. Now the attribute data does not follow normal distribution like defective, defect samples, defective, non-defective, anything binary, they follow binomial distribution. This is another distribution. The standard deviation of that distribution is p into 1 minus p square root, where p is the proportion defective. Proportion defective. Okay, proportion defective. Proportion defective means defective doesn't mean really defect. Proportion means proportion of what I'm interested in. I'm interested in finding something, like it can be quality also, it can be infection also, it can be mistakes also, it can be error also. So proportion of what I'm interested in. And reverse is like if I'm say this is proportion defective, so 1 minus p will be proportion of non-defective. So let me put this in the formula. If I put this in the formula, this becomes p into 1 minus p square root becomes squared, and this comes out. Now this is the sample size formula for my attribute data. Now for my attribute data, this is the sample size formula, and in the sample size formula, I can now let us take the example of call center. I want to know, or my call center manager asked me, how many samples should I collect to judge the call quality in my call center? Now call quality is like defective, not defective, is attribute data. So I can't use this formula here. It is not about time. It is about call quality, defective call, not defective call. So for them, for this manager, I'll say, okay, I'll give you the sample. Give me those values. To what is D? First, I will ask him P. P means what does the average defective call rates today? He will say around my call quality is 80% today. So, uh, you know, average defective will be proportion defective will be 0.2, and call quality is of course 0.8. D. What is D? How much error you can tolerate? Now, call center manager would not understand what is D. So I'll explain to him. See, I will give you a sample size. I will tell you, please collect 500 calls, audit 500 calls, and based on that, suppose you get your call quality is at 80%. Please be reminded, or please be mindful of the fact that this 80% is for these 500 calls, but for your 500,000 calls, it is not 80%. It is 80 plus minus 3%. Are you okay with 3% uncertainty plus minus 3? He says, yeah, 3% should be okay. So 3% will become 0.03. And if I solve this, whatever the number comes, if someone can solve it for me, you just let me know. So if I get a number of, let's say, 400, for example, so I will tell the call center manager to collect 400 samples, and he will get a fair estimation within plus minus 3% uncertainty about the call quality. So this is how I will use it for attribute data. So whatever is the number, it's 510. Okay, so it is 510. The number is 510. Thank you. Thank you for calculations. Okay, so 510 is the sample size, which will give me good information about even 500,000 call or 5 million call, doesn't matter, because the sample size formula doesn't have any any variable which has which needs to be substituted for population size. So if the call center manager says, okay, you told me 36 sample for 100,000 calls, how about 1 million calls? The sample size still remains 36. 36 needs to be distributed within that uh, time period for which you want to make a judgment. Say suppose you want to make a judgment about whole of January month, then you should collect 36 sample throughout, like random samples from January. Suppose you want to make a judgment about today, so you should collect 36 samples today, or so on and so forth. So that is how you have to get your sample size. One interesting thing I would like to tell you about this formula. If you see very carefully, this thing, you know, the term p into 1 minus p. The term p into 1 minus p is, if this is 0.2, this will be 0.8. If this is 0.3, this is 0.7. If this is 0.4, this is 0.6. If this is 0.5, this is 0.5. If this is 0.6, this is 0.4. This is 0.7, this is 0.3. So if I calculate and go on calculating this, 0.16, 0.21, 0.24, 0.25, 0.24, and 0.21. Now, what is the maximum value, maximum possible value of this expression? It is 0.25. That is the maximum possible value of this expression. It will never go beyond that. So why I'll not even talk? Well, I'll not ask the call center manager about his quality. I will take the highest value, highest possible value. And if you solve, 3% is generally the thumb rule. The uncertainty of 3% is thumb rule, either in terms of here proportion, or even in terms of this this the standard deviation. You know, the like standard deviation is like around uncertainty when you're talking about D here. D uncertainty 3% on the mean. 3% 3% on 300 seconds was around 9 seconds. So we took it 10 seconds. So if we are talking about the uncertainty, 3% is the thumb rule. So if I just use that thumb rule of 3%, and if I substitute this in this formula, and if I calculate, can you calculate the number now? Can you solve for this number? How much it will be? It will be, okay, so this is, I think, 711. Okay, no problem. This is 711 for previous values. Okay. And now for new values, if I take 0.25, how much it will be? So whatever is the number is, yeah, you can calculate. Now how much it is? Approximately 1,111. So that is why we say that if you want to make a judgment about your uh, quality, and if its quality is attribute data, then in that case just collect 1,100 samples. And if you collect 1,100 samples from any data, that's maximum possible. If you have the data about your call quality or any quality of your process, if you got the data, then in that case your sample size will reduce. But in absence of any information, we'll just say please collect 1,100 samples for attribute data. That's what we have been telling for the last uh, so many days. In yellow belt also I told you that uh, sample size formula for continuous data, sample size for continuous data is 30 approximately, and this is 200 to 1,100, the range. uh, if you solve for any process, interesting thing about here is, if you solve for any process using this formula, you will always find that the sample size you'll be getting around 30, 40, 50, 30, 40, 50. So that is why statisticians generally say that as a thumb rule, instead of calculating and doing all these applications of formulae, just 30, 40 sample is good enough. And you will fairly accurately get the information about your mean. If it's continuous data for 30, and for attribute data, we will say it is 1100.